Welcome. As I'm putting on my lip balm, I live in Phoenix, Arizona, so it's dry here and my lips get dry quickly. Welcome to this week's live stream. I'm Heidi and I appreciate you being here. There is a poll in the chat. Hi, Line. Thanks for being here. I loved your video. It's so amazing. So amazing. Go watch Line's channel if you get a moment on everything outdoors and solo camping and yeah. Okay, so we have votes. One vote or 50% voting for, you're welcome, Line. One vote for my self-talk can be very critical, and one vote for I do better if I'm hard on myself. Oh, interesting. Hi, Miss M. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you being here. It's good to see you again. So interesting. I do better if I'm hard on myself. Yeah, that can be a tricky thing that we think, right, will help us if we just push ourselves and beat ourselves up to do better. But that never works. And we just end up feeling worse about ourselves because, typically maybe we're going through something that we just aren't the same. And I didn't plan to talk about this, but a lot of times women believe that we should be able to do the same and operate at the same level today that we did yesterday, or some random day in the past when we were super energetic and we got a lot done and a lot accomplished. But that's not the way the female body works. Because our hormones fluctuate, we operate more on a 28-day cycle, like a cycle of the moon, versus a 24-hour cycle like the masculine energy does. So when we tend to get into this go and push, that's masculine energy. And we all have it to some extent. But when we expect ourselves to be able to operate as a female living in a female body with female hormones, when we expect ourselves to operate at that same level every day, and then we are hard on ourselves when we don't operate at that level, that that is where we can get stuck, because we think, well, I did it yesterday, or again, random day in the past. Pardon me. Not only are my lips dry, my voice is dry, apparently. I actually I love the Phoenix Suns, the NBA team, and they're in what's called the play-ins, getting ready for the playoffs, which are the, ultimate of an NBA team, is to get into the playoffs and to be the ultimate winning team. And I got invited last night to go to the game, so I was yelling a lot. So that's probably partially why. Curious to know if anybody else is into sports, just because they're a local team, and I love seeing the young players come in and really increase their skills. And I keep thinking, because I'm hypnosis certified, I would love to give them hypnosis in order to be more confident, like every time they go up to the free throw line to shoot a free throw, because that's where I say games are won or lost, through the free throws. Last night we would have won if we would have made our free throws. Anyway, completely off topic. Other than that's why my voice is probably a little raspy today. Miss M said, "I'm into college basketball, so my family and myself love March Madness." Oh, right. So you just came out of, um, a lot of basketball watching probably. Where do you live, Miss M? I don't remember if you've told me before. So, what I was saying was female energy is different than male energy. So, if we expect ourselves to be able to perform today or this same way every day, that is going to lead us to potentially beating ourselves up because I did it yesterday. Why can't I do it today? What's wrong with me? Right? Why do I feel so tired, so exhausted? I can't nap. There's too much to do. Right? And it's this push, push, push. That theoretically is gaslighting ourselves. And I don't know. I would love to know. Oh, you live in Indiana. Okay, cool. Um, yeah. So I would love to know if any of you are familiar with the term gaslighting or have experienced it before. It comes from a movie a long time ago. I want to say it was in the 30s or 40s, but it was many, many years ago, where a man, so it had to be when they used to use street lamps that were gas lit, right? And a husband, I don't remember the exact scenario, but he would either light them or turn them off and then tell his wife that he didn't do it, that she was imagining things. So he was creating this 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 doubt in her mind that what was her reality wasn't truly her reality. And that's what gaslighting is basically making us question our reality, our feelings, and ultimately, it makes us question our worth. And if you have ever been in a situation, you've heard gaslighting a lot. Yes, I know the term, and I sometimes gaslight myself, right? So that's what we're here talking about today. Um, if you have ever been in a relationship, which I have, my last marriage, I didn't know the term prior to that. And then when I started studying narcissism, that's what someone with narcissistic personality disorder will do. They will use gaslighting in order for you to start questioning your reality and to question who you are. That's the way that they can gain control over you, is for you to get into um a lesser position, right? A place where you're dismissing yourself and your feelings and your thoughts and your own reality, and you start believing them. And think about that. Once you are doing that, they can control you really in any way that they want. And it is very, very destructive. Um, so I have experienced it myself. They call it, part of it is word salad, where they just start spewing out stuff so much so that you get confused about what they're trying to say. And so it's just easier for the brain to go, okay, whatever, right? But what I want to talk about today is how we do this to ourselves unbeknowingly, right? Like, is that a word? Unbeknowingly? Unbeknownst to ourselves. Um, so, and I have 5 different things maybe you have said to yourself that I want to talk about real briefly and then give you a couple of action items, some tips on how you can stop gaslighting yourself, how you can stop this critical self-talk. Like someone said, I do better if I'm hard on myself, right? In the poll. And if you're just coming in, there's a poll. I would love for you to vote on it. But so the first thing, well, first, this is a learned it can be a learned thing. If you are used to always putting other people first, then um, we can end up as a people pleaser internalizing that voice because we've always made other people more important than us and their needs and their opinions and their thoughts more important than ours. And so we start to dismiss or think that our opinions and thoughts and needs aren't valid. And then it just builds over time and becomes a way to beat yourself up and diminish yourself, dismiss yourself, put yourself down. And it just becomes this vicious cycle that we really have to consciously pay attention to because our subconscious, if you've listened to other lives or other videos of mine, you know that the subconscious is running the show. Your unconscious mind, which you were patterned when you were young, your subconscious mind, your unconscious, is running your life every day, 95%. If you don't believe me, tell me something today that you did or yesterday that you did that wasn't a habit. Of the 100 things that you did yesterday, maybe 5 of them weren't a habit, right? The thoughts you think, the actions you take, whether you brush your teeth right away when you get up, whether you put your clothes on or your socks on, you know, one at a well, we all put them on one at a time, but sock, sock, shoe, shoe, or sock, shoe, right? Those are all patterns, and that's a really simple one, but those are all patterns that we learn. And the reason everything is habituated is because the brain only weighs 3 pounds, but it needs 20%. It uses 20% of our energy, of our calories to process. And so, because it needs so much energy, it conserves energy in any way that it can. And the best way that it can conserve energy is through habituating things. So, everything that you do repeatedly, whether that's a physical thing like going for a walk every morning, brushing your teeth every morning, right? Whether it's a physical thing or it's a thought that you think. If you wake up every morning and you get on your phone and scroll, I can tell you that your days are going to be much harder than someone who wakes up and maybe goes for a walk and does something good for themselves versus something where you're putting trash, right? You're putting toxins into your, for instance, social media. So the brain habituates everything that it can. So if you repeat something a few times, it becomes habituated. That's the way the brain, the subconscious, conserves energy. Any other comments that I'm missing here in the chat? Now we have my self-talk can be very critical, 67%. All right, so we're going to talk about that. And before, just in case, well, I won't forget, but I want to mention this now. This is a great resource if your self-talk is not good. It's very non-scientific based. It's just very easy to understand. The stories that he tells in here are like make it click. And I have a link for this book down in the description. You can order it through Amazon. It is an affiliate link, so I earn some pennies if you buy through that affiliate link, and you don't pay anything more to order it that way. Miss M said my self-talk can be bad. Yeah. Part of it, a big part of it is our conditioning, right? Again, the subconscious, the unconscious comes from the things that we experienced, the things we were taught, the things we heard, the things that we just surmised from what was going on around us in our environment. All of that was patterned in. It's like a tape player, right? It's just playing the same tape over and over again, like if any of you know an 8-track player, it just is on repeat. No social media in the morning. Hi, Peppermint Patty, Pammy. Thanks for being here. But my brain is off to the ruminating races within 3 minutes. Right. So for you, Peppermint Pammy, then I would say have an audio on your phone, right? A supportive audio that you can, as soon as you wake up, that you can turn on and listen to. With all my clients, I have them, we come up with positive things that they want to hear, that they want to believe about themselves, and I have them record them in their voice on their phone, and maybe it's 5 or 6 statements, like, "I'm confident, um, I'm kind to myself. I'm going to have a good day. I'm" whatever it is, right? Because anything that follows "I am" is what you are going to become. It's what you believe yourself to be. "I am" is the statement that makes that true. Yeah, it works really well, and especially when you hear it out loud, the brain takes things in differently when you say it out loud versus saying it internally to yourself. The ears take it in, it's a different vibration, and so it goes in differently when you hear it out loud, and it's even stronger when it's in your own voice. So I've recorded many audios for people. You can, there's one linked in a couple of videos, I Honor My Needs. That is a free one that you can get. There are audios that you can purchase on my website. I have the new Inner Circle membership. There's an audio in there. Those are all in my voice, right? So it's really good that way. This guy also has another book called 65 Days to Positive Self-Talk or something like that. Shad Helmstetter is his name. You'll see it when you go on. And in that, on I think January 16th, he had, they're just like little short things that you read every day. And he has one that says, "I choose to have an incredible day, amazing and awesome in every way. My actions and outcomes depend on the words I say, and I choose to have an incredible day." I changed it a little bit just to fit me better. So I try to say that out loud every morning when I wake up. Sometimes it takes me a few minutes or maybe even an hour to get going. Sometimes it's even noon, and I remember I'll say it to myself. And it makes me smile because it rhymes, right? He made it so that it rhymes. And again, I shifted it a little bit just to fit me. But anything that we can do like that tells our subconscious good thoughts instead of those um like who somebody said that they do better if they're hard on themselves, right? We have a choice. And the subconscious doesn't care whether it's true or not. To it, everything is a fact. So everything that you say out loud, inside, your subconscious is like, okay, we believe that. And it believes what you think is most important. And what is most important? The things that you repeat. So watch what you're repeating to yourself. Okay, so this people pleasing, right? This always putting other people first can make us then internalize that critical voice, right? Because we maybe heard critical when we were young, or we told ourselves that we needed to do better, that we weren't good enough, we weren't pretty enough, we weren't pleasing enough, we weren't whatever enough, we weren't quiet enough, we weren't small enough, right? It was, a lot of it is not enough. And so then that voice started coming in to tell us, well, if you only did this or that, then you would be good enough, right? Then you would be enough. If you would only be more quiet, if you would only see, you shouldn't have spoken up, right? And so that voice gets internalized, it becomes habituated, and then we grow into adults thinking that that's the way that we make ourselves better, is to continue to build that weapon that we use to beat ourselves up with. So, here's some things that I came up with that maybe you say, like, "You're just being too dramatic or too sensitive." Have any of you said that to yourself? Maybe this is when you're feeling overwhelmed or resentful or exhausted, right? When I get tired, I find that's when the self-talk gets worse. And so instead of just resting and giving myself grace, it can be easy to get into this negative loop of self-talk, thinking that if I just am harder on myself, that I'll be able to shift myself out of it. And I just go further down the spiral. I don't spiral out. I don't spiral out, I spiral down, right? When I do that. So be really um, aware of that. Instead of listening to that voice, like I said, we end up downplaying it or adding to it, right? It's like someone says, "Wow, you sure are lazy." And then I respond, "Yeah, I know, right?" Instead of, "Wait a minute. No, I'm not. I'm just feeling exhausted. And what do we do what should we do? What do we tell a kid to do if feeling exhausted, right? Take a nap. Rest. Stop pushing yourself so hard. We have to give ourselves the same grace. Peppermint Pammy said, "I believe others when they say I'm dramatic." Tell me more. Were you told who told you the first time? How old were you when you remember being told that you were dramatic? I would love to know because that says a lot. Miss M, that's perfectly fine. I love that you're still here and listening and taking everything in. I really appreciate you being here. And no sorries with me. No, you have. So, right, we tell ourselves we're just being dramatic, like Peppermint Pammy said, "Just be you're just so dramatic." But there was a time, I can pretty much guarantee it, when you were younger that you were told you were too dramatic or that you sensed, right, that that is what someone else thought of you. Miss M says, "I believe others when they say that I'm fat." That's yeah, that's not okay, right? That's not okay. That hurts my heart. Um, I had a client who her mother-in-law belittled her and told her that a lot. And then her sister-in-law also kind of jumped on that bandwagon and said, a good Christian woman would take care of the body that they were given. And that is very judgmental, right? But the problem with that is that, like Miss M just said, you believe the other person instead of instead of how do I say this? Instead of ignoring what someone else says, because that's a cruel and mean thing to say about anything, about, right? It does that whatever it is, too sensitive. It's not my place to judge where you are in your journey, right? God didn't put me here as the judge of other people. He didn't put anybody here as the judge of another person. And when someone judges us in a way like that, like someone told me in a YouTube video that I needed to dye my sad gray hair, right? When someone else is judging me, that, and I know this is really cliche, but that says a lot about them. It says nothing about me unless I believe it. Peter Crone is an amazing, he's called the Mind Architect. And if you ever have a chance, he's on YouTube. You can look up his videos. He does a lot of shorts and a lot of podcast length long, but his shorts are really good, like little 1 to 2 minute clips that make you go, oh, geez. But he says that words only hurt you to the extent that you believe them. And it's your choice. I guess this is what the bottom line is. It's your choice whether or not you want to believe those words. We all came here to be on the journey, didn't get to choose how we look, what our meat suit looks like, right? This is your body is an amazing organism, right? But it's not who you are. And it's just a meat suit to carry you through this life. And believing what someone says about you, the more you hold on to that as the truth, the more the subconscious holds on to it because, again, it doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So if you believe what that person is telling you about you or said about you, your subconscious thinks that you think it's true. So what could you tell yourself instead to kind of um like create this invisible, armor against that, this invisible shield against it in order to like having a bubble of protection around you, an invisible bubble, so that when those things come in, it just bounces off like water off of a duck's back, as they say. Miss M said, I body shame myself all the time. Peppermint Pammy said, I hurt when I hear women body shame themselves, worse when it's other women, right? Miss M said, when I was in school, someone was laughing and was telling her friend that I was fat. I laughed and said, yes, I know, right? I'm fat. So, Peppermint Pat, oh, I missed a few comments here. Not till I had children and every frustration made my arms wave. Right, right, I hear you. So Miss M, let's figure out, right? That was an event that happened in the past. We can't change it, but we can move forward knowing that it's not true. And again, we are all different shapes and sizes, and there's always going to be, if you want there to be, something you don't like about yourself. I have age spots on this side of my face from light coming in from the window from, driving, sunlight hitting. I have the underarm stuff. There's always going to be things. I have wrinkles that are, becoming more apparent. There is always going to be something that we can find that we don't like ourselves. We want our hair to be longer. We want it curlier. We want it to be, whatever, darker, lighter. Um, Skinny girls like me have imperfections too. My husband would reply to girls that wished they looked like me with a helpful, she just hides her problems better. Oh, good for him. What an amazing thing to say, right? We're all perfectly imperfect or imperfectly perfect, however you want to put it. There again, there is always, You can always find something about yourself that you don't like. But is that what you want to focus on? Because again, what you focus on is what the subconscious believes to be true for you. It's I don't want to make it sound easy, but it's quite simple to change your self-talk. You just have to consciously be aware of it and consciously, in the moment, choose something different. When you hear yourself body shaming yourself or shaming yourself about anything, you know, the thing that you said, the thing that you did, the thing that you didn't do, whatever it is, you drank too much, you right? Like whenever you hear that, I want you and I'm going to get into this in just a little bit and I only want to go like I always say that 6 more minutes till the top of the hour. I'm going to get into like a couple of steps you can take. But I want you to reframe it in the moment. Wait, is that me saying that to myself? Where did that thought come from? Right? Let's go to the next one. Maybe you've said, well, other people have it worse than me. So we can think someone else's pain is a reason to ignore your own. Right? That, well, they have it worse off than me. I don't have it so bad. Look at, you know, I shouldn't be ungrateful for this life that I have. Um, and that's gaslighting yourself. You do that too, Peppermint Pammy, that you say, so you've hit 2 out of 2, is that what you're saying? Why am I feeling why why am I whatever, right? Whenever we ask ourselves why, whatever, we are going to the past and we can't solve anything from the past. A better question to ask to start, a better word to start your question with is how can I, or what is this? Like, what is telling me? How can I shift this now in the moment? Not why. Why doesn't matter. It's done, it's past. Number 3, and it's kind of along with number 2, be grateful. Life looks good. So we shame ourselves for wanting more. We tell ourselves we're selfish. Do you do that one too, Pepper Pammy? Are we 3 for 3? Um, so we shame ourselves. We tell and then number 5, you just need to try harder. Can somebody put in the chat? Do you still hear me? Um, so number 5 is you just need to try harder. You blame yourself feeling unfulfilled, or you assume you're the problem, that if you just did, you just dieted more, if you just, um, you know, if you just tried harder, if you just did more, if you were just nicer, if you were just you fill in the blank, right? That is a way to gaslight ourselves. We assume that we're the problem. We push more, we give more, we do more without ever questioning the direction. Like, what's the purpose of this? Why am I, well, there I said, why? You know, what do I want to, what is this message that I'm hearing myself say to myself? What is it telling me? What would I like to think instead? So, what can we do? Have compassionate curiosity. That is the best thing. When you hear these thoughts, when you hear your mind saying things, when you hear other people say things that feel hurtful, have compassionate curiosity for, wow, they must be having a bad day. Or what am I making this mean about me? And how can I shift that? What words can I tell myself right now in this moment that can like put up that armor, that shield to make that energy bounce off of me instead of me taking it in as the truth. So compassionate curiosity. And one thing you can ask yourself, hurting people hurt people. Yeah, right? Welcome, doll heart. If you're new here, I would love to know where you're coming in from, and what's your name. Also, if you haven't voted in the poll, I would love you to vote in the poll. Do you catch yourself dismissing your own feelings? But you bring up a good point that there's a saying that hurt people hurt people. So, and we've all been hurt, right? We've all been through all the experiences that we've been through in our life. Everybody's are different, right? No, not one person's is the same as another. So we've all come from places of hurt, of experiences that were hurtful, that didn't feel good, that weren't fun, that, made us who we are. So we all have the ability, if you will, to hurt other people because we're coming from a hurt place. And that's why I do the work that I do in coaching people, because when you continue to beat yourself up and gaslight yourself, it's like having a wound. So I got nailed by a dog, but if I kept picking at this, what's going to happen? It's never going to heal, right? And that's what we do when we pick on ourselves, when we dismiss ourselves, when we demean ourselves, when we put ourselves down. We're picking at the wound and it never has a chance to heal. So stop picking at your own wounds. Let them heal and become wounds and scars versus an open sore, right? So, yeah, let them become scars, not an open wound. Again, gaslighting yourself, picking on yourself, telling yourself, pushing yourself, telling yourself that you should be doing more, that you could be better, that yes, we all could improve, right? But we can do it from a place of compassion, compassionate curiosity, and ask yourself, is this thing true? And don't confuse true with real. It could be your reality right now that, for instance, maybe you have some extra weight that you don't necessarily like. But is it true that your body isn't what it's supposed to be, right? That that your body isn't performing, right? Because that's what you're saying, that your body isn't what it's supposed to be, that it needs to be different. I guess that's a better way to put it. We're telling our body, you need to be different in order to be good enough. So ask yourself, with whatever the thought is, whatever you heard yourself say, is it true? And then again, I highly recommend getting this book, ordering it. You can order it from the link down in the description of this video, of this live. Again, it's an affiliate, so I earn a little bit of, a few pennies if you order through the link, and you don't pay anything more. But chapter 14 in particular, he talks about different ways to shift your self-talk. He talks about silent self-talk. He talks about self-speak, self-conversation, self-write, WRITE, recorded self-talk, like what I said earlier, recording some self-talk things. And then whether we believe it or not, whether we believe it's true or not, doesn't matter. It's what we're programming, what we're reprogramming in that we want to believe going forward. And over time and repetition, and it doesn't take that long, like just a couple of weeks before the subconscious starts to take a hold of that new thought that you're giving it, the one that you're repeating over and over again, it will take it and go, oh, now this is the repetitive thought. I'm going to believe it. And it programs it in over the old thought that you no longer want to believe. Peppermint Pammy, that's awesome what you said. Our bodies are for us, right? They're our vehicle to get through life. Without our body, I wouldn't be able to see, I wouldn't be able to hear, I wouldn't be able to feel, touch, taste, smell, right? My body is what allows me to experience this 3D world. And I know sometimes it's like, I don't want this experience, but this is life. This is the life that I signed up for before I was born, before I was created. This is the life that I signed up for in order to um, further my evolution. Line said, "This is a really interesting subject, and I think I've been gaslighting myself more than I realized. I'm glad you are here." We gaslight ourselves. That would be an interesting little, and I'll end with this, an interesting exercise. I'm a little sleepy today from the game last night. Is to take a sheet of paper and put a line down the middle, and in the left hand column, write all the things that you hear yourself say or do, just a short little brief thing like other people have it worse, right? The things that I said, you're just being sensitive or dramatic. And then in the right hand column, write what you want to hear instead, what you want to say instead, what you want to believe instead. Like, I'm I this is my body to go through life in. Without it, I would not be able to experience. I wouldn't be able to be doing what I'm doing, right? I would just be a soul floating around in the energy. And we wouldn't be able to be having this experience, this interaction, this conversation here without our bodies. Oh, someone else voted. So now, yes, I feel I'm being too sensitive. 50% my self-talk can be very critical, and 25% I do better if I'm hard on myself. I hope that you gained something out of this live stream today. Remember that I go live every Wednesday at 2:22 Eastern time. We try to do around 40, 45 minutes. And I love the conversation. I love the chat. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your stories, Miss M. I hope that helped you be able to have a little bit more ease in your breath and in your life. Thank you. Silent Walk just got here. When you know yourself, you tend not to gaslight anyone. That is true. The more we know ourselves, the less that we judge others. Today we were talking about how we gaslight ourselves unknowingly a lot of times. So, yeah, again, I appreciate you being here. Again, a reminder that the Inner Circle membership is live. It is just $5.99 a month. You get videos in there. There's an audio right now in there that is for a 5-minute way to calm down and slow down, and it works every time I do it. So would love to see you, in the membership. There will be a video. I promise, I'm committing to this. There will be a video going in there more about soon in the next few days about our identity and how we actually create our identity and how we can recreate ourselves to be whatever we want ourselves to be. And that's all through the work with, the stories that we tell ourselves and the things we repeat, and whether or not we pick at the wounds and keep the wound open versus letting it scar over. So, cheers, Silent Walk. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and I hope to see everyone again next Wednesday at 2:22, same bat time, same bat channel. All right, have a great week, everyone.